assignments, yeah, you people have told that few questions has to be modified. You please text me which are all the questions that you have problem. Those questions I'll modify and send. Because out of the 12 questions, whichever the questions you have problem, you just text me those question numbers. So I will just change it and send it back. Okay. Okay, so let us start with the topic composition of functions. Just a minute. Okay, students. So now I will start with the topic composition of functions. So before I start with the composition of functions, okay, so let me just give you the revision of what is a composition of relations. Okay, so the topic is composition of functions. So first I will teach you what is a composition of relations. Okay, so this topic already we have discussed with respect to the arrow diagram, right? So suppose we have three sets. Say for example, this is the set A, this is the set B, and this is the set C, right? And if R is a relation, if R is a relation from set A to set B, and S is a relation from set B to set C. So based on that, I'll just write here, represent here. Okay, and if the elements are X, Y, and Z, right? So these are the elements. So now, as per the definition of composition of relations, R composition of S, this will contain the ordered pair, say for example, X comma Z. If I have to include this ordered pair, what is the condition that I have told? There exists, right? So there exists one more element, say for example Y, that belong to the intermediate set, say for example that is set B, such that you can split this ordered pair. Okay, so if I tell X comma Z belong to the R composition of X, R composition of S, then there exists one more element Y that belong to the set B, such that X comma Y belong to R and Y comma Z belong to S, right? So such that X comma Y belong to R and y comma z belong to S. Okay, correct, right? So this is the definition that I have told for composition of relations. Correct, students? So now, so you should not get confused when I teach you the composition of functions. Okay, so this definition is for composition of relations. Is it clear, students? Can I go with the composition of functions now? Is this clearly visible for you, or is there any blurriness? Students, can I continue? Okay, fine. So now I will tell you the composition of functions. Okay. So now the composition of to teach you the composition of functions. Let me again take three sets. Say for example, you have set A, set B, set C, and this time let us assume that you have the elements like A, B, and C. Okay. So now I will assume that f is a function. Okay. So f is a function from A to B, and G is a function from B to C. So based on this, I will represent this in the arrow diagram. So f is a function from A to B, and G is a function from B to C. So now the composition symbol you already know, right? So it is represented by using the small circle. So when you are telling the composition, always you have to start with start from the end. Okay. So you cannot tell F composition of G. Always you have to tell G composition of F. So why is that? I will tell you the reason. So I will repeat. So always with respect to the relations, it is fine. You can tell F composition of G, but with respect to the functions, always you have to tell from the last. Okay. So this will be G composition of F. So this G composition of F of A, this is defined by G applied upon F of A. So this is the definition of composition of functions. Okay. So now I will tell you why you have to start from G. Okay. So as per the definition of composition of functions, so G composition of F of A is G applied upon F of A. Because when you have to apply the function G, first of all, you have to apply the function F on the element A. Why the element A? Because for the function F, the domain is set A and the codomain is set B. And the element that is there in the domain is A. Always you will apply the function on the pre-images. So for the function F, the pre-image is A. Okay, so that is the reason I have taken as A, because the first function that I will apply is F. So for which the pre-image is A itself. So that is why I have to write A here. So one more thing, how I got this element B? This element B I have got by applying the function F on A, right? So by applying the function F on A, I got this. And how I got this element C? I got this element C by applying it on, by applying the function G on B. G on B, whereas B I have got by applying F on A. Okay, so now I think the definition of the composition of function is clear. So the G composition of F will be equal to G applied upon F of A, right? Okay, so I'll just repeat. So G composition of F of A is given by G applied upon F of A. So this is the definition for composition of functions, right? Okay, so you will understand this better when we solve more problems on this. Fine. So let me start with the problems here. Okay. So the questions will be very simple. Okay, so easily you can score the marks if they ask the question on this topic. So let set A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and let set B is equal to small a, b, c. And one more set, C is equal to W, X, Y, Z. Okay, so these are the set of elements in this sets. And he has given that function F is defined from A to B, and function G, this is defined from B to C. And he has also defined the functions. The function F is defined by 1, A, 2, A, 3, B, 4, C. Okay, so still I'm telling you the question. The function G is given by A, X, B, Y. Even if they don't give whether the function F and G are defined from A to B and B to C also, easily you can find it. Correct, right? Just by looking at the ordered pair. So in this function f, the first element 1 in the ordered pair is from the set A and the second element A is from the set B. So therefore the function f will be from A to B, and in the function g, the first element is A, which is from the set B, and the second element x, that is from the set C. So it will be from B to C. Correct, right? So even if he does not give the function is from which set to which set, easily you can find by looking at the ordered pairs, right? So now his question is, he is asking you what is G composition of f, right? So he is asking you what is G composition of f. We already know what is the definition for G composition of f, right? So we already know what is the definition of G composition of f. So for the definition also there will be marks, students. So you have to write even that. So the solution will be, first of all, this G composition of f of x in general, this is given by G applied upon f of x, right? So this function f, it is in case of the function f, students, can you tell me which is the domain for the function f? Which set is the domain? We have 3 sets here: set A, set B, set C. Out of the 3 sets, which set is the domain for the function f? Because always I have to think about the second function. That will be the first that will be applied. Exactly, very good. So the function A is the domain. So in that domain, how many elements we have? We have 4 elements, right? The elements are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So now I need to apply on all the 4 elements in order to get this composition. So G composition of f of 1 I need to find. G composition of f of 2 I need to find. G composition of f of 3 I need to find. And finally, G composition of f of 4 I need to find, right? So based on this, based on the definition, if I elaborate this, just a minute. Okay, so based on this definition, if I elaborate this, this can be written as G applied upon f of 1, G applied upon f of 2. See, as I have told you, it might look lengthy, but it is very simple. You are not doing anything, just you are applying the definition of composition of functions. So based on that, you are solving this. So now it's very simple. So what you need to do is G applied upon f of 1. Okay, so G applied upon f of 1, the answer will be, can you tell me what is f of 1? In order to find what is f of 1, you just have to look at the ordered pair. Yes, you can write the arrow diagram, but no need. Actually, easily you can just look at this ordered pair and you can tell. So when you apply the function f on 1, it leads to A. Oh, so already you have answered. That is very good. And when you apply the function f on 2, it leads to again A. When you apply the function f on 3, it leads to B. And further on 4, it leads to C. So based on that, quickly I will write these things first. So G f of x will be, sorry, so this was just a definition, right? So here I need to start. So G applied upon f of 1 will be equal to A, and this again will be equal to A. So f of 3 is equal to B, so it will be G of B, and further f of 4 will be equal to C, so it will be G of C. And further, just you have to look at the ordered pairs with respect to the function G. When you apply the function G on A, it leads to X, B, it leads to Y, and C, it leads to Z. So based on this, quickly I will just write G of A will be equal to X, and G of B will be equal to Y. Sorry, this is again A, right? So again, G of A means it will be X only. G of B will be equal to Y, and G of C will be equal to Z. Correct, right? So is there any doubt in this problem, students? I think it's very easy for you, right? So usually in the exam, these kind of questions they will ask. Okay, very good. Now I will take one more question. Just a minute. Okay, so the next question. This is also one of the exam problem. So consider the functions. Consider the functions f and g defined by f of x is equal to x cube and g of x is equal to x square plus 1. Okay, so for all the values of x belonging to R. So now his question is find the values of g composition of f composition of g, and find the value of f square, find the value of g square. Okay, so you already know, in case of the relations, already I have taught you. Suppose if you have the relation r square, if you have the relation r square, that can be written as r composition of r. Suppose if you have the relation r cube, it can be written as r square composition of r, right? So these type of problems in the relations already we have solved, right? So similarly, f square means it is f composition of f. Okay. So now already he has given you the definition of f of x. He has given you the definition of g of x, and you know the elaboration for the composition. So g composition of f of x will be g applied upon f of x. So based on this, I want you to try to solve this problem. So I'll give you 3 minutes. So if you have any doubt in this, so again I'll solve. Okay. So you at least try to make an attempt to solve this problem. I'll give you 3 minutes. Fine. Okay, I'll do one thing. So first problem I will solve. Okay, g composition of f. So remaining, I think you will have better idea to solve that. Okay. So first is g composition of f of x. So this will be equal to g applied upon f of x, right? So based on this, okay. So this is g applied upon f of x, and what is the definition for f of x? The definition for f of x already he has given, that is equal to x square, right? So the definition of f of x is x square. So based on this, I can replace this f of x with x square. And what is g of x? G of x is equal to x square plus 1. That also he only has given. But in place of x, what we have x square, right? So now this can be written as x square whole square plus 1, right? In place of x only, we have x square. So this will be equal to x square whole square plus 1. So that is equal to x to the power of 4 plus 1, right? So similarly, I think you got an idea. So now you just try to solve for f composition of g. Okay, so you people solve for all the 3 sub questions, f composition of g, f square, and g square. Okay, so after 3 minutes, I'll just ask you the questions, you can answer. Yes, Kavya, your answer is correct. So others, please try to solve. Okay, so I think most of you have already solved it. Okay, so I'll just give the solution, just check whether it is correct or not. So this will be equal to f applied upon g of x. the definition for g of x already he has given, that is equal to x square plus 1. So based on that, I'll write x square plus 1 here. And f of x is equal to x square, but in place of x we have x square plus 1. So this can be written as x square plus 1 whole square. Okay. Some students, what they will do is they will try to elaborate this based on the definition for a plus b whole square. That is a square plus b square plus 2ab. Yes, you can do that, but it's not required. Hardly there will be, I think, 1 or 1.5 mark for each of this question. So for this, just if you keep this answer, that is more than sufficient. Okay. So no need to elaborate it. Fine. Okay. Next, I think f square and g square. Already you would have solved it. So f square means this can be written as f composition of f of x. So which will be equal to f applied upon f of x. So where f of x is already x square. So this will be in place of f of x, I'll write x square. So f of x itself is x square, where in place of x I have x square. So this will be equal to x square whole square, that is equal to x to the power of 4. So similarly, in case of the g square, that will be equal to g applied upon g of x. So g of x itself is x square plus 1. In place of x I have x square plus 1. So this can be written as x square plus 1 whole square plus 1. Right? I think everyone have already solved it. Okay. So is there any doubts in the students? Can I go with the next problem? Okay, good. So as I have already told you in the beginning of the DMS class, this module number 3, it's lengthy compared to other modules, but the thing is it is very easy if you understand it properly. Okay. So students usually they will feel the theorems as difficult, but so far I think you people are even comfortable with the theorems. So in the functions, as I have told you, there are few theorems. Okay. So I will try to simplify it as much as possible and teach you. Fine. Okay, and this question, it is one of the most repeated question in the exam. So let me see how many of you will solve this. So let f and g be the two functions which are defined from R to R. Okay, so those things I will not write. Okay, so he is telling that f and g are the two functions which are defined from R to R, and he has given the definitions. Only important things I will write. Okay, so f of x, he is telling us that is equal to ax plus b. Fine. F of x is given by ax plus b, and g of x is given by, just a minute, I will start writing from the top so that we will have more place. Okay, so now he is telling f and g are the two functions, whereas the definition for f of x is given by ax plus b. The definition for g of x is given by 1 minus x plus x square, 1 minus x plus x square, right? Next, what else he has given? And he is telling that, so the definition for g composition of f also he only has given. G composition of f of x is given by 9x square minus 9x plus 3. Okay. And now he is asking you to find the values of a and b. So now what you need to do is, you need to find the value of a and you need to find the value of b. Okay. So one trick I'll tell you, what you need to do is just what you have to do is just you have to apply the definition of the composition of functions. That is g composition of f of x is given by g applied upon f of x. So based on that, elaborate that, because he has given the definitions for f of x and g of x. So based on that, you just elaborate it. Okay, so then try to find the values of a and b. I'll give you 4 minutes exactly. So after that, I'll ask you. So you have to tell the answers for a and b. Okay, so let me see how many will solve this. Okay. Only Aditya have answered. Others, is it correct, students? Have you got the same solution? Okay, so I think you people are still trying. So no issues. Okay, so I will also parallelly solve this problem. If you have any doubts, you can just have a look. Okay. So as I have told you, so first of all, G composition of f of x is equal to G applied upon f of x. So based on this, I will try to elaborate. But the thing is, already the G composition of f of x, what is that he has given? That is given by 9x square minus 9x plus 3, right? So now I will elaborate this based on the definitions that he has given. So this will be equal to G applied upon f of x, where f of x is given by ax plus b, right? So again, the definition of G of x also he has given, that is given by 1 minus of x plus x square. In place of x, that just I have to write ax plus b. Okay. So based on that, if I elaborate this, this will be equal to 1 minus of ax plus b plus ax plus b whole square. Okay. So now this can be rewritten as 1 minus of ax minus b plus the elaboration of a plus b whole square. So based on this, this can be written as a square x square plus b square plus 2abx. Okay. So in the LHS, what we have is 9x square minus 9x plus 3. So if I have to equate this powers, okay, so x square, x and just the constant part. So what I need to do is, just a minute. So now I have to just take the common here. So this can be written as this can be written as a square x square. I will write one side. So a square x square is completed. So next, what I can do, I think if I take the x common between this one and this one, okay. So if I take the a common, sorry, x common, it will be equal to 2ab minus a. Okay. So remaining terms I will just write as it is. So I have plus b square minus b. I have, what else I have? Okay, plus 1. Okay. So now I have just rewritten this in this way just because I can just equate these terms now. So now I have a square x square here. So here I have 9x square. So I can just write a square value is equal to 9. So if a square is equal to 9, then the a value will be equal to plus or minus 3. Okay. So the value of a, what we have got, plus or minus 3. Fine. So now one more value he have asked, that is the value of b, right? So now if I have to find the value of b, depending upon whether the a value is equal to plus 3 or whether the value of a is equal to minus 3, I'll be having two solutions for the b. Okay. So in order to find the b, what we have here is b square minus b plus 1 is there, right? So I will take the help of that. B square minus b plus 1, that is equal to 3. So based on this, so now if you simplify, okay, so I don't take this because I don't have the a term here. So instead of this, let me take 2ab minus a is equal to minus 9. This one I will take this term. Okay, so this term I have taken. So now the value of a is equal to plus 3. So based on this, if I simplify, what I will get, 6b is equal to minus 9. This side, if it comes, it will become plus 3, so minus 6. So b value is equal to minus 1, you will get. That is one solution. And another one is, suppose if you take a as minus 3, then it will be minus 6b minus and minus. So plus 3 is equal to minus 9. So b is equal to minus 12 by minus 6. So it will be 2. So the solution is the a value is plus or minus 3 and the b value is minus 1 comma 2. Okay. So I think almost everyone have solved it correct, but you have missed, I think, plus or minus 3. See, a value, a square you got 9, right? I think you have taken only 3. No, it will be plus or minus 3, right? And the b value, depending upon the value of a, it will be minus 1 and 2. Is it clear, students? This is one of the exam problem. Is it clear? Any doubts in this? Students, is this problem clear? Can I go with the next one? Okay, fine. Okay. With respect to the relations, okay, suppose if I know the number of, say for example, A and B are two sets, okay, and if I know the number of elements in the set A, that is cardinality of A, and number of elements in the set B, that is cardinality of B, I can easily find the number of elements in the Cartesian product. You already know, right? The Cartesian product is represented as A cross B. So the number of elements in the Cartesian product, in the sense I have to write cardinality of A cross B. So this is given by number of elements in the set A into number of elements in the set B, right? So this part you know. And similarly, if I know the number of elements in the set A and set B, assume that the number of elements in the set A is M and number of elements in the set B is N. Based on this, the number of relations that can be defined from A to B, this is given by the formula 2 to the power of m into n, right? So similarly, the number of functions, okay, so the number of functions that you can define from set A to set B is given by the formula n to the power of m, okay, where n is the number of elements in the set B and m is the number of elements in the set A, right? So you need not to worry about how we got this formula, fine. So just you have to memorize this formula, fine. So similarly, suppose if we are finding the number of functions from set B to set A, so what will be the answer? This time it will be equal to number of elements in the set A, that is m, to the power of number of elements in the set B, right? See, actually, depending upon whether the question is from set A to set B or set B to set A, based on this, you need to take the formula for the total number of functions, okay? So you should not get confused. So based on this, usually in the exam, what he will do is he will just give you the number of elements in the domain and codomain, and he will ask you what is the total possible functions, okay? So like this direct questions he will ask. So sometimes what he will do is he will give you the total number of functions and then he will give you number of elements in any one set, and he will ask you the number of elements in the another set, okay? So based on this, I'll just give you one simple question. Say for example, the number of elements in the set A is equal to 3 and the number of elements in the set B is equal to, assume, 2. So now just answer me, what is the total number of functions from A to B, and what is the total number of functions from B to A? So quickly answer it, students. Give me the answer. What is the total number of functions from A to B, and what is the total number of functions from B to A? Okay, so the total number of functions from A to B, in the sense number of elements in the set B to the power of number of elements in the set A. So that is equal to 2 power 3, which is equal to 8. Very good. So similarly, this will be equal to number of elements in the set A to the power of number of elements in the set B. That will be equal to 3 power 2. That is equal to 9. Okay. Very good. So this question easily we have solved. But in exam, they won't give the questions like this. Instead, they will ask like this. Okay. So this is one of the exam problem. So let me see how many of you will solve this. Let set B. Okay. So let set B is equal to, just a minute. Okay. Let set B is equal to 3. That is number of elements in the set B is 3. And the total number of functions is equal to 2187. And now he is asking you what is the total number of elements in the set A. So students, please try to answer this. Before you answer, I'm just waiting that you will ask one question for me. Is this question sufficient for you to answer? Yes, exactly. From which set to which set? Without knowing that, we cannot apply any formula, right? So the number of functions is from set A to set B. Very good. Okay, so now I think you can answer this question. So please solve it. After 2 minutes, I'll solve this problem. Okay, very nice of you students. You people are very active even in the afternoon classes. Okay, so the total number of functions from A to B. Okay, so number of functions from A to B. This is given by the formula number of elements in the set B to the power of number of elements in the set A. So this answer already he has given, that is 2187. This is equal to 3 to the power of number of elements in the set A. Okay, so I think you people have applied log of 2187 divided by log of 3. So if you apply the log, you can get the A down. So now the answer will be equal to 9. Very good. Okay, so this is one of the exam problem. Sorry, the answer is 7. The answer is 7. Sorry. Okay, so is it clear, students? Shall we go to the next topic? Okay. So in some of the question papers, he have asked even these type of questions. It's very simple. So actually, this problems already we have solved with respect to the relations. Okay, so the rules goes even same with the functions also. This type of problems already we have solved in relations. So the question is, let f is a function from A to B, and C and D are arbitrary non-empty subsets. Okay, so these things are not required. So directly I'll just write the questions. So if F inverse of C union D, you just have to prove whether the F inverse of C union D is equal to F inverse of C union F inverse of D. With respect to relations, we have solved this kind of problems. Okay. So in order to prove this kind of problems, already I have given you the hint, right? So what I will do is I will take some element, okay, some arbitrary element that belong to the LHS. And whatever the element that I take, let me name that arbitrary element as A. Okay. So the same element also belong to the RHS. Okay. So if whatever the element that belongs to the LHS, also if it belongs to the RHS, I can write LHS is a subset of RHS, right? So similarly, what I will do is I will take some arbitrary element here, okay, and I will prove that the same arbitrary elements are also present in the LHS. So I can conclude that RHS is also a subset of LHS. Then from the rule of antisymmetry, if LHS is a subset of RHS and RHS is a subset of LHS, then LHS is equal to RHS, right? So I think you remember this was the rule that I was applying in order to prove the theorems in relations. So here also I will do the same thing. Okay, so the procedure will remain same. So based on this, so in order to solve this, I will take some element. Okay, so let x belong to F inverse of C union D, right? So if x belong to F inverse of C union D, if I take the F towards left side, so this can be written as F of x belong to C union D. Okay, and you remember the definition of union, right? If I have the union, the meaning is this particular element belong to C or it belong to D, right? Suppose if you have the intersection, then this particular element belong to C and D, right? So based on this, this can be written as f of x. Just I am elaborating this based on the definition of union. F of x belong to C or f of x belong to D. Okay. So now what I will do is I will shift the f towards the right side. So this can be written as x belong to f inverse of C. So I will do the same thing even this side. X belong to f inverse of D. These type of problems are very easy. Easily you can score the mark. So now again I will just apply the definition of the union in the reverse way. So if this particular element belong to f inverse of C or f inverse of D, this can be written as x belong to f inverse of C union f inverse of D. Okay. So now if you observe this problem, actually what's happening here, this particular element I have considered it belong to the LHS, and I have concluded that the same element also belong to the RHS. Based on this, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is this LHS that is f inverse of C union D, f inverse of C union D is a subset of f inverse of C union f inverse of D, right? So now if you observe this problem from bottom to right? So I have taken some arbitrary element belonging to the RHS, and I have proved that the same arbitrary element also belong to the LHS. So from this, what is the conclusion? Even the RHS is also a subset of LHS. That is, I can write in the similar way. That is f inverse of C union f inverse of C union f inverse of D. This is also a subset of f inverse of C union D. Okay. So actually here the place is not sufficient, students. So from this, what you can conclude is this you can take as 1 and this you can take as 2. From 1 and 2 and from the rule of anti-symmetry, both are equal. Okay. Very simple, right? So easily you can score. I think they will ask for 5 or 6 marks. If they ask for 6 marks, usually they will ask 2 sub questions in this. They won't ask a single question. So if they ask 2 sub questions, 2.5. If for 5 marks, if they ask for 6 marks, easily 3 marks each. Okay. And for this kind of problems, you should write double arrow mark. Okay, so if you write double arrow mark, the meaning is you have to look at the solution from top to bottom and also from bottom, right? Okay, okay, just a minute. Okay, students, is the topic that we have discussed, is it clear for you? Students, okay. So actually I thought of continuing the class till 3:15, but I have some work. Okay, so can we halt the class now? So we shall continue from next week, Tuesday. Okay, so tomorrow last hour I won't take. So I will just send you the assignment. You can solve that assignment problems during my class. Okay. So tomorrow at 3:40, what I will do is I'll just send you the assignment. Can you show the last question again? Yes, Aditya, I can do that. But the thing is, the connection got over. Okay. So I got a call. This connection got over. No problem, Aditya. I'll just solve that problem again tomorrow. Okay. No issues. Not tomorrow. Tuesday I'll solve it again. Fine. Is it okay, Aditya? Take a snap. That much of scene and all is not required. Don't worry, Aditya. Next class I'll solve it. Okay. This problem and one more problem of this type, surely I'll solve. Okay. Okay. Fine. Others. Okay. So if you have any, if you don't have any doubts, you can log out. Thank you.